What is going on, everyone, and welcome to Jump Ball with Josh. I'm your host, Joshua Massey, and I'm glad you could be here to join me on another episode as we talk NBA. We've got a jam-packed episode today. I'm going to talk about my top 5 MVP candidates, and I'll tell you why they should be MVP, but also why they shouldn't. We're going to do a little bit of a league recap, and I've got a question at the end to answer from one of the fans. Let's get right into it. I'm very excited to do this episode. First up, we're going to talk about Kevin Durant. Shout outs to you, Kevin. Just passed Wilt Chamberlain on the 7th all-time scoring list. So congratulations to you. And I think a lot of the time in this league and as fans, we don't realise the greatness that is Kevin Durant. People take him for granted and talking about, when he jumped from OKC to Golden State, how his legacy would be tainted, and then he's gone around the league ring chasing. But Durant, we might never see a scorer like Durant ever again. You look at the amount of time he's missed. He's missed a season with Achilles injury. Missed a lot of time in Brooklyn. He's missed a bit of time in Phoenix. So you start to add all those games up, and you think Durant could have challenged LeBron for the all-time scoring list, if longevity-wise and just how much he scores. And pretty much after his rookie year, he's been a 25-point-per-game scorer every season. And yeah, I just think we take for granted how good Kevin Durant is. And a lot of conversation is about, obviously LeBron, Steph. You talk about Luka now, you talk about Giannis, but KD he's right there, man. He's a great scorer. He can score deep. He can score and get into the mid-range. He can get to the basket. He gets free throws. He does it all. He's not just a one-dimensional scorer that can't do other things in his game. He's got multi-level facets of how he scores. So yeah, shout-outs to him. And it looks like he'll get Dirk. Dirk was only another 150 or 160 points. So come the end of the season, Kevin Durant's going to be a top 6 scoring, on the scoring list. And you start to think, well, how far is he off getting Kareem's record? Years ago, we were looking at, well, it might only ever be LeBron, but now we're talking, if Kevin Durant can put together some good seasons where he doesn't miss many games, by the end of his career, he could be second all-time on the list. So, yeah, that's a huge effort for Kevin Durant, and I've given him his flowers. You got there, man, and you're going to keep going. It's good to watch you ball, and just hope you can keep doing this and stay healthy to get your name higher up that list. We had news from Shams Charania today. First off, news dropped that Anthony Davis would undergo surgery on his left hand and that he would miss several months. But news has just dropped that he will not undergo surgery, will not require surgery on his left hand, and will be re-evaluated in 6 weeks. And I guess it's good news for Anthony Davis, but where does that leave him? Like, are the Dallas Mavericks going to sell low on him because he's injured to another team, Because I know if I'm fielding calls for AD, that if he's injured and with the season he's had injury-wise, I'm definitely not giving up a bag for him. I'm giving up the minimal that I need to get him. And Dallas can't be the choosers here. They're probably they're probably going to have to be beggars here and see what they can get. But I'm still of the opinion that get Anthony Davis back, get Kyrie Irving back, and see what you have. You got a young Cooper Flag, you've got Kyrie who can put that all together, and then AD can lock it down defensively. You don't need him to do what some people expect of him offensively. You just need him to hold that paint down and be the defensive anchor. And alongside Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford, this team has potential. You look the bench unit. You're going to have Max Christie, Najee Marshall, names like that can really round this team out. And so if I'm the Dallas Mavericks, I know they want to wipe their hands with the Nico Harrison era, and that involves Anthony Davis with the trade, obviously, for Luka. So I can understand them wanting to get rid of it, but if you're going to sell low on Anthony Davis, why not run him? Why not run with it and see what you have, even if it's just for the last bit of March and April, and then retool in the off season. A few people get AD as healthy as you can, and make a run and see what you can do next year. Cooper Flag's going to be in his second year, so he's going to be more mature. Kyrie would be back with a full preseason under him. You're going to have your double bigs and Gafford and Lively who are only getting better. So I don't see the rush in trading him, especially if he's going to be injured. You're just only going to be selling low, and then you think you turn Luka Doncic into potentially Zachary Rishzache and Kristaps, which, if you add that all up and turn it all over, I just don't see the angle there from Dallas. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully AD can get back healthy and we can see him back out on the court. It really is a hard time watching him get injured, and you saw that injury and you're just like, man, he's just more and more like he's made of glass. So yeah, get back, get healthy, and hopefully we see you out on the court, whoever it's for. So yeah. Moving on, there is mutual interest between the Miami Heat and Ja Morant for a potential trade. Memphis Grizzlies made him available in a trade talks earlier last week, and we haven't seen him back out on the court since. So I think the Grizzlies are going to want to wrap this up pretty quickly. It's just what are the Heat willing to separate with? There's been talks of the Rozier contract. If the Miami Heat could trade that contract, then that would be probably something we would see in those talks. We're looking at, there was another trade, potentially Tyler Hero and Simone Fontecchio. We always talk about the Heat and the Heat culture, and Ja getting there and then seeing if they could fix him up. It's a shot in the dark, I guess, but the Heat, around what they're doing, I can't see the Ja fit being amazing. It's especially when you're already looking at a guy like Tyler Hero, who you've got, who's offensively can be inconsistent, but he's got the outside shot that he hits. You've got Norman Powell, who hits the outside shot. I think you want to keep those two, and that helps your spacing for Bam. Whereas if you get Ja in there, the spacing for Bam all of a sudden gets a bit clunky, and you start questioning what are you trying to do. Bam's already struggling enough offensively, so yeah, I would have to see the fit and what the team looks like, but also the behavioural issues. And obviously Miami's been a spot where people go, they rejuvenate their careers. Miami make big time players out of two-way players, and it is a system where just about anyone can fit. But I also look at Ja and think, you got all the talent. How could you not make it work in a city that drafted you? Memphis is Ja. Ja is Memphis. It just feels like a relationship that was made to be. So yeah, there's also been rumours of Sacramento Kings jumping in here, and for the Kings, I don't know why they would do this either. Right now they're in a retooling era, and you're going to get a guy that hasn't been available. So when you're retooling, that's probably not a big thing to have. So yeah, I'll be monitoring the situation over the next few days and seeing if talks progress with the Heat. A package including Rozier and some filler, I could see some sense in keeping Tyler Hero, keeping Norman Powell and Andrew Wiggins, but I think the Grizzlies are going to want something of that caliber. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there, see what eventuates there. The last thing I wanted to talk to, it's not really a recap, but just what are the Warriors doing with Kuminga? We heard reports the other day that they won't trade him at the deadline unless they get a package that they're happy with, I suppose. And I mean, you're not playing him. You re-signed him to a deal in the off season, and he's been in and out the lineup. Now he's out pretty much, and you're pretty much just leaving him on the end of the bench to rot. And we just want to see free Kuminga, man, and free yourself, free your team. You're struggling. You need some assets back to help Steph, and you're just holding a guy that's got some talent and a very tradable contract, something that could get you, a Vucevic or some more size inside to help alleviate some of the stresses, and get another core rotational player there. But they want a haul, I guess, for Kuminga, and you're not really... It's a double-edged sword. You're not really showing his worth when he's not playing. So how can you expect teams to pay high for him? If he's not playing, then no one really knows his worth, or you're not showing his worth. You're not showcasing his worth. So, yeah, all the best to Kuminga. It's just been a really hard run for him, and I just want to see him on a team where he can play, and we can see what he can do. On a team like Chicago, or a team like the Kings, or one of those kind of teams, the Nets. He could really fit well and play, and we could see the best of Jonathan Kuminga. So yeah, monitoring that situation. I just hope the Warriors find a decent enough trade package for him where he goes somewhere else. But yeah, after the break, we're gonna get into talking about my top 5 MVP candidates and why they should be MVP and why they shouldn't. Welcome back. Time to get into my top 5 MVP candidates and why they should and shouldn't be MVP. First off though, this is assuming Nikola Jokic, who was initially my front runner for MVP, gets ruled out due to not making the 65 game threshold. It looks like he's going to come close, if not miss it. So yeah, we're ruling him out in this category right now. So this is the top 5 without Jokic. So this is in no order. This is just in a mixed order. So first up, we've got Cade Cunningham, averaging 26.5 points, 9.5 assists, 6 rebounds, and 1.5 steals a game. Cade's been on a bit of a tear this season. He's been doing some good things there in Detroit, and you can see it in the team. They're obviously winning. They're playing good basketball, and there is a big reason you can put this guy in MVP talks. He's they're top of the East, and that's one of the reasons for. So obviously top of the East, 28-10. This is a different team to last season and a different team to the last few seasons Cade's been there. Yeah, they definitely look like a better team, and that's on the back of what Cade's doing offensively and defensively. Playing well at both ends of the floor. He's muscling up defensively, getting physical. Then he's getting down the other end, getting the hard shots, creating for other people. He's doing it all really, really well. And it's a full season of just, well-rounded basketball. He's clutching the fourth quarter, hitting the hard shots. And the team, I was looking through their lineups and their plus-minus, and I think 13 of the 14 lineups of best plus-minuses are including Cade. So they're obviously better with him on the floor. And you can tell they just need a little bit around him to help him. But I think he is a perfect candidate for MVP right now. And you just look at his game and how it's evolved over the years, how he's become a better scoring threat, how he's put work into his defensive game, he's moving his feet, he's cutting guys off, he's creating steals. That team was already a dog created defensive team. And yeah, I think he really buys into that, and that's why a lot of other guys buy into it. When your star buys into defensive pressure, your role players will buy in as well. And so I really am advocating for Cade to get some MVP votes, and this is a big reason why I think he could win MVP. The team performance, how he's performing on both ends, and just his numbers are pretty good. You know, he's doing a bit of everything. But if I had to give some reasons as to why I wouldn't give him MVP, and these are very minor. Obviously, you gotta think these are guys that are more caliber MVP caliber than not. So, if I had to say reasons why, the Pistons are 4-1 without him when he doesn't play. So there is still some team chemistry there without him. When he's not playing at all, they win. They're obviously winning. So, yeah, as much as it's a hard read, it's still a read that you've got to make. They are winning without him. So, what does this team look? Potentially not 28-10 without him, but is this team probably still is above 500 team without him? The way that they've played some of these games, so you've got to keep that in mind, how their performance is without him. And then he turns the ball over quite a lot. Obviously high usage, so he's going to turn the ball over, but he's top 10 in the league in turnovers. So yeah, if he could pull those numbers in a bit and just look after the ball and yeah, really hold that turnover numbers down a bit, then I could see that becoming not as a bigger case against him. So, but those are my two reasons against him. I still think he's putting together a great season, and yeah, definitely could see him without Jokic in the conversation. There's plenty of reason to give the MVP to Cade. On to my next guy, and it's the reigning MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's averaging 31.9 points, 6.5 assists, 4.5 rebounds, and 1.5 steals per game. And again, another guy that's just doing it on both ends. Shai is an elite scorer, but he's also a very good defender. And I really like my two-way guards in the league. I like the guys that can do it on both ends. He's getting to the basket, getting to a shot mid-range, I should say, sorry. And then he's getting down the floor and making the stops. The team is 33-7, best in the league. Obviously, he's a reigning MVP, so that really goes with the eyes are on him. The voters, the panel, they'll be watching a lot of him this year. He's shooting the mid-range at a high efficiency, almost as high as Shaq was shooting from the paint. So that gives you a real good read into it. And then he's on the verge of the highest score in 50-40-90 season ever. So that's crazy in itself. And he just keeps on kicking down doors. He's got that 20-point streak going. He's not missing. And yeah, he just really carries this OKC team. They've obviously got Chet and J-Dub, but he's the focal point around what they're doing. And yeah, I just think from a fan standpoint, you don't get sick of Shai balling out like this, and you don't get sick of Shai being in these MVP talks, because he deserves to be there. He came to OKC, embraced the city, he embraced the team, and now they love him. That fan base loves him, and he gives them a reason to every night. Just the way he plays hard. He gets a lot of foul calls, admittedly, but that's because of his hard effort to the paint and to the rim. So yeah, this is a big reason why I think he could win MVP. Against him, if I had to be critical, again, it might be voter fatigue. Very early in his MVP reign, but voter fatigue could become an issue. We've already seen him win an MVP, and unless you're having a really substantial greater year than the rest as a reigning MVP, it feels like they want to spread some love, and I could really see that as a reason why he doesn't win MVP this year. And then another big reason is he missed a lot of fourth quarters early in the season due to the OKC beating. They were really blowing teams out, and so from a numbers standpoint, maybe Shea averages 34, 7, 5, and a steal. 1.7 steals instead of what he's averaging now, and it just increases his numbers a bit. So that is a big reason why, if he wasn't to be MVP, I'd look back and say, well, he didn't play a lot of fourth quarters because they were beating teams substantially, and he didn't get a chance to inflate his numbers as such. So, yeah, again, another guy that I think probably is the front runner right now for MVP. So, wouldn't be surprised if he won it at the end of the year. But yeah, there's a few good points there of why he could win it and why he couldn't. Moving on to another guy that has really had a good season, and it's Jalen Brunson. Averaging 29 points, 6.5 assists. The Knicks are second in the East, 25 and 14. And he's the most consistent offensive force on his team. He's scoring the basketball from deep. He's getting those tough shots inside, pull-up threat. He's clutch in the fourth quarter again, another clutch guy. And the teams really, the Knicks really get into a hole when he goes off the court. Not all of the time, but you see it a lot of the time. They just have no creator. They have no guy that they can go to, hit a tough shot. And that's part of the reason they're winning. It's because of Jalen Brunson and what he's doing offensively. And then I just think he's an Iron Man. I don't really see him missing time through the season. He's playing a lot of games. He's playing big minutes. He's out there. He's in the bright lights of New York. So, they've got a lot of nationally televised games. A lot of eyes are on his games every single night. So offensively, his game is there, and that's why he's in talks, because he's putting up 29 points a night. He's creating for others. He's getting double teamed. He's getting blitzed. He's getting it out to guys like Cat and OG and Mikal, and they're getting more involved in the game, and that's what an MVP is not just stats, but they're getting other guys involved. They're taking the attention, and then other guys are benefiting from it, and that's, from an MVP standpoint, why I think Jalen Brunson is in these talks and should be in these talks. From a negative standpoint, I think his defensive stats are non-existent. He's defending, but he's not getting in the box score. You don't see him getting steals. You don't see him obviously getting blocks. He's small, and probably his size, he's not able to, and it's probably not an MVP threshold per se, but he's not guarding up on your Cades. He's not guarding up on the other team's best player, and that, it's not a knock against him, should I say, but when you look into the game and you think of MVP, you're thinking either you're having an amazing statistic season, or you're having a season where you're doing it on both ends of the floor very highly, and that's just my knock against Jalen Brunson. His game is amazing. He plays with effort. He plays with dog. He's tough. He's always been underrated. He's always been the guy that's the underdog. So another guy that I could see definitely in these conversations come postseason. After the break, we'll talk about two more guys. All right, welcome back. We've got two more guys to get through, and then the question, and then we'll wrap this up. So I wanted to get into Jaylen Brown as my next guy, averaging 29.5 points, 5 assists, 6.5 rebounds, shooting 50% from the field. Coming into the season, we talked about the Celtics just not being a team that we couldn't see doing this well. They're third in the East, and Jalen Brunson is carrying this team just when you say by himself, he's just been the star, and then he's got role players around him. His numbers are up big from last year, and he's doing it on both ends of the floor again. I love talking about an MVP that offensively is great, but defensively is holding his own. We saw the thing the other day with Jaylen Brown called Joe Mazzulla, said, I want the assignment on Kawhi. I want to stop Kawhi, and that's what an MVP does. He takes the best assignments, and then he put 50 on Clippers' head. So, yeah, that to me that just screams MVP status, and that's why I think like Jaylen Brown is really just putting his name in there as one of the league's best players. And it's kind of a shame once Jason Tatum comes back that Jaylen Brown will be resigned to the second guy again, and would love to see Jaylen Brown on his own team, leading his own team. And we're not robbed of it, but we're not privileged enough to get to see that, because they've got such a great chemistry out there in Boston, and they are a good team. And he's happy to, obviously he's willing to sit behind and get that run and have a shot at the championship, being that duo with Tatum. If I had to look against, the record probably doesn't scream amazing, 24-15. It's amazing for the team, but it's probably not amazing for an MVP caliber team. And then I think, does the workload get too much for Jaylen come the end of the season? After All-Star break, does he start regressing a bit and start showing a bit of fatigue from all this weight that he's been carrying? He hasn't had to do this for long portions of seasons. He's always had Tatum and then Holiday and Porzingis and guys like that to help alleviate the load. He's playing big minutes as well, so it's not a knock on him right now, but in the future, once we look towards playoffs, is the workload too much? Does his numbers drop? Does his efficiency drop? Does his work rate drop because he's getting tired? So yeah, that's Jaylen Brown, and right now probably my favourite guy in the MVP talks. He's just doing good things, and his game is evolving into a game that is MVP caliber. My last guy here is that guy out in LA, Luka Doncic, 33.5 points, 8.5 assists, 8 rebounds, and 1.5 steals. And Luka has really come to LA, the bright lights of LA. He's in the Showtime. He's putting up big numbers across the board. He's in a team that is really mediocre without him when he's off the floor or he doesn't play. And in a big market team like this, these numbers get recognised, and that's part of the reason I think he is in these talks. Obviously, he's having a great season. He's hitting tough shots offensively. He's really just creating for the rest of his team. He's getting back. He's rebounding well for a guard. He's doing all of the stuff that doesn't get seen. But when you talk about Luka's offensive game, the shots, the 3-point making, the drawing 2 or 3 bodies, that's what he's doing, and that's what he always does. And I think it's taken for him to get out to LA and in that big market, and that's where his game is going to get recognised at an MVP level. So that's why I really could see this season being the year that we say, hey, Luka's our MVP, and nobody would be mad at that. Luka deserves that. He is that type of guy. If I had to go against him, I would say the team record, again, 23-14. And he's a defensive liability. He's getting blown past a lot of the time. The team as a whole is bad defensively, so it's not just on him, but it starts at your star. It starts at the face of your team, and that's Luka. And if he's getting blown by and missing assignments and not rotating and just really, not giving his all on the defensive end, like I said before, if your star is doing it, you'll do it. If your star isn't doing it, well, why should other guys do it? And that's my knock on him is he's having this great offensive season, and that might be enough to get him. But if it doesn't, this is why I think he doesn't get there. Defensively, he's just, he can just really switch off at points. So, yeah, those are my 5 candidates there, and each of them have a very good case for why they should be MVP. And I definitely think out of this group, one of them will be MVP. Just who it is, I remain excited to find out. Right now, as of this point in the season, if I had to pick an MVP, it would probably be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and that's just because of the numbers and how the team are doing. If I had to pick a guy that I'd want to win MVP, it would be Jaylen Brown. So that's my 2 little picks there. But the rest of these guys I'll be watching like a hawk, seeing if they can pick up on the negativities and if they're, if they keep trending upwards. I just wanted to move on to a quick question from one of my videos, one of my episodes earlier on in the piece, and it was from Mike Gardner, 1984. He wanted to know my MVP prediction, defensive player, and then champion. So obviously I've just given you my MVP. Defensive player right now, I think, for me, I like Scotty Barnes. He's just a defensive, versatile player. He's doing a lot on deflecting passes, getting stops, blocks in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, Scotty Barnes is a guy I would really like to see. I could see them giving it to Chet, and I wouldn't be angry. Chet's had a great defensive season also. So, those are my 2 guys. But Scotty is my pick. As for champions, I can see it right now. If I had to look deeply into the bag, I would see it being a OKC Spurs conference final in the West, and that's a tough series. And I could see right now, the Spurs making it to the finals, and I could see it almost being an NBA Cup rematch and it being the Spurs and the Knicks, and I could see the Knicks winning their first championship since the 90s. That's my pick right now, is the Knicks as a championship, and they haven't been great lately, but I think when it's all said and done, and once this team gets their bodies back and hearts just come back and they get everyone fit and the chemistry's there, I think this is the team. Obviously, we'll talk about the OKC Thunder, but I think the Spurs have their number, and I think that they could be their kryptonite come the playoffs. So if I had to pick a team, it's going to be the Knicks right now. But OKC are right there also. But yeah, thanks for the interaction, and I'm always open to comments on my videos, always open to your takes, topics, or any thoughts that you might have. I want to create a good community where we can chat about anything. Nothing's out of the realm of possibility in the NBA world, and that's why we're here to talk about it all. But yeah, really appreciate you guys being here, watching through. If you have liked this, please make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out. It's a free way to support the channel, and I really appreciate it. We're going to keep on pushing through the season. It's getting to the trade deadline, so we'll keep talking more. Coming up this Sunday will be the Heat Hype episode, along with a few other topics. So I really look forward to seeing you there. But yeah, until then, cheers.